Right. No,
Yomi and Tumim not working.
what?
Yomi and Tumim not working. It's like Yomi and Tumim, you get a message,
No, it's
from
working.
the ether.
Oh, why? Yeah. Okay, 2 days it gets recorded. People start to Morning, we have to Sabach Testament Aleph, about 15 lines from the top. We're having Machlikus of Blessed Yeshua as to whether you can do an Issa D'Rabbanan on Shabbos in order to enable us to be in the Korban Pesach. The argument went back and forth. Rabbi Lezer said you can't. You can. If already you could do Shechita D'Oraisa, Kavachim, you could do an Issa D'Rabbanan. Rabbi Akiva said to him, no, Issa D'Rabbanan, I know you can't. So Rabbi Akiva said to him, maybe we should say that just like you can't do an Issa D'Rabbanan, you can't do an Issa D'Oraisa. This comment was actually a slight, tiny bit of disrespect because both of them knew for definite that Korban Pesach does Pesach Shabbos. And Rabbi Akiva was saying to Rabbi Lezer, according to your logic, it would work out that you can't do Korban Pesach on Shabbos. Rabbi Lezer got very, very upset with this comment, and he said a very harsh comment back. Let's get more inside. You started replying to me with the concept of Shechita, that Shechita not Derech Shabbos, but Shechita Tein Mesoso, you shall die through Shechita. And in fact, Rabbi Akiva was killed by the Romans. Even though Rabbi Akiva did nothing wrong, because at the end of the day, he was arguing on an halachic issue which he was correct in. Rabbi Akiva was passing that Rabbi Akiva. But in a tiny bit of disrespect, therefore, that's part of the reason he had this terrible oinish. Omar look, Rabbi Akiva said to Rabbi Lezer, Rebbe, my Rebbe, because Rabbi Akiva had two main Rebbes. His two main Rebbes was Rabbi Lezer and Yeshua. So he said to Rabbi Lezer, you my Rebbe, Atach bireini b'shas hadin. Don't try and argue and deny when we're having an argument on something that you've already once told me. You once told me Hazor Shvus, that even though the whole Issa to have Paraduma water thrown on a person is only D'Rabbanan, Hazor Shvus, but you can't do it on Shabbos. If Rabbi Lezer himself told Rabbi Akiva that you're not allowed to do Hazor on Shabbos, what made Rabbi Lezer change his mind? So the Gemara's got a problem with you. Rabbi Lezer on one hand says in our Mishnah that you can do Hazor. Yet Rabbi Akiva told Rabbi Lezer, you yourself told me that you can't do Hazor. So it's a contradiction. First, the Gemara tries to find a way to reconcile. Eventually, the Gemara says, in fact, Rabbi Lezer made a mistake. But in the heaven of the Gemara tries to reconcile it. How can the Gemara reconcile? There's two kinds of people who get themselves sprinkled. One who wants to be a Korban Pesach on Shabbos, and one who wants to eat Truma on Shabbos. So Kohen wants to eat Truma. The halacha is that he has to be Torah. So therefore, he needs to have Paraduma sprinkled on him. So the Gemara says like this. Rabbi Lezer, Azor the Tumah. He taught him the concept of doing Azor for Tumah. The Tumah go for the Dachis Shabbos, Tumah itself to not Dachis Shabbos. Indeed, when he asked him, was asking about Azor of Tumah. She mitzvah v'shim shvus. V'usava Azor the Pesach k'moisivlei. So indeed, Azor of Tumah is not Dachis Shabbos. Azor of Korban Pesach is Dachis Shabbos. Faith the Gemara, that can't be. Moshe Rabbi, Hishiva Bakiva Ma Azor Tzmei Strichiach Shchol Shvil Shel Eliyos BeShabbos Uberev Pesach. We're talking about no Azor of Tumah, to Azor of Korban Pesach. And he said to him, She mitzvah v'shum shvus ve'einu Deiches HaShabbos. And Vade Azor the Pesach Akmir, he taught me Azor of Pesach. V'chimachad Akmir Matam Kopor Chlei Rabbi Lezer. What's going on? If Rabbi Lezer taught him Azor is Deiches Shabbos, why would Rabbi Lezer change his mind? And says, well, Rabbi Lezer Gemor is Akalei. Rabbi Lezer forgot his learning. And what happened was, also Rabbi Akiva was coming to remind him. So indeed, the Ma'aseh Rabbi Akiva was 100% correct. Rabbi Lezer himself held that you can't do Azor on Shabbos. If that's the case for Limidei B'Adei, why did Rabbi Akiva not say to him straightforward? You are the one who told me that it's not. That means Rabbi Lezer once told Rabbi Akiva that Azor is not Deiches Shabbos. And that was the premises why Rabbi Akiva kept arguing with Rabbi Lezer. Only he didn't want to say to him bluntly, you told me otherwise, because he felt that's disrespectful. Why indeed is Azor B'Tomei not Deiches Shabbos? Mechti to the Ba'amahu, Tidchi Shabbos, V'shum Pesach. All you're doing when you sprinkle a bit of ashes of the Po'ah Adama water on somebody, all you're doing is a bit of tiltul. Answers the Gemara, Omar Rabba, Gezeo, Shemiteno, Ve'avrinu, Abraham, Sushus Avim. If we allow people to get sprinkled with the water, they might come to carry Abraham, Sushus Avim. Where else do we have this concept? No, we got where? Where? Gabish Ad Halachas. When else did Rabbi say this famous statement? Gezeo, Shem Yavrenu. Shai must have had it. By lulav, by shofar, there are many mitzvahs, but the Rabbi says that the Chazal got rid of because of the mitzvah of the Geschash. Says the Gemara, who cares? Let him carry it. Why? So Blessa holds you allowed to do everything. Remember, we mentioned the Kuntra Blessa, you're not allowed to cut down a tree to make a fire, in order to make a knife, in order to create, to melt the metal to make a knife in order to besmila. So why can't he do it on Shabbos? This is a very difficult concept to try and absorb it. If you've got a baby who's ready to do besmila, you just don't have a knife. So you need to go to the forest, cut down the wood, to make a fire, to melt the metal, to create a knife. Says Ables, that's all fine. Why is it all fine? Because it's besmila, it's Deicha Shabbos. If you've got somebody Tommy, all you need to do is sprinkle him a bit of ash or fire, what you can't. What's the difference? The baby is, as he is now, is ready to do besmila. So once he's ready to do besmila, you do all the malachas that need to do to besmila. This person, as he is now, is he ready for Korban Pesach? No, he's Tommy. So it's as if he's not in the parsha, he's not in the topic of Korban Pesach. No, that's what he's saying. At this present moment, he's a Tommy. A Tommy person can't be Korban Pesach. So the point is, because of the way his status at the moment is one, that he's not included in the topic of Korban Pesach, therefore not Mechal Shabbos. So therefore, even though Hazor is a very light Issa, all you're doing is sprinkling a bit of water, and it's not even doing this to the rice at all, we forbid it. But everything we need to do for a baby. Now, what would happen if you've got a baby not well? So the only way to make a baby better is to wash him with hot water. That's how it used to be in the old days. Washing hot water to make a baby better. Would you be allowed to heat up the water to wash him in order for it to do bismillah? Yes.
Yeah, surely you are.
No, so don't do the bismillah.
It's
before. That's right. It's before he's done bismillah.
Are you talking about
Yeah.
It was 8th day, but surely
So yes, but the problem is, while he's not well, he's like similar to the person who's Tommy, that is not yet in the parsha of Korban Pesach. He's not yet in the parsha of Bismillah. As the baby is now, he's not well. When the baby is not well, adding hot water will make him better. But that's the same as the person who's Tomei, making him turn the Michal Korban Pesach. The halacha is, according to Rabbi Lezer, you're allowed to do whatever you want to do to be Michal Shabbos in order to do a mitzvah, as long as the person is already obligated. This person who's Tomei is not obligated because it's Tomei coming Korban Pesach. This person whose baby who's not well is also not ready to do Bismillah. Oh, you'll say to me, all I need to do is just put in a pot of hot water, make him better. So what? At this present stage, is the baby ready to do Bismillah? No. Says like a Tommy. Says
you have to wait a certain amount of time to become tired. Can't become tired straight away.
Right. Why? What's the difference? Sprinkle on him a bit of ashes, he'll become better. He'll become toy. Put a bit of hot water on the baby, he'll be better. If he's a healthy child, you can make him hot water for healing him after the Bismillah of the Shabbos. Because a baby is not well, because it's not yet ready for Bismillah, because the other mode is not well. I must admit, it's a hard understanding that you've got a person ready to be in Korban Pesach. All he needs is a tiny bit of ashes. No, you can't do it. Why? Because you're not in the parsha. But if you needed to cut off the water and to bring the Korban Pesach from out of town and all the rest, would be allowed. Why would you need hot water to heat it up? According to our bless, we learned blessed the Mila that what? You're allowed to do loads of Yisroel to do Bismillah, except heating up the hot water. Why? Because if you need to heat up hot water, it's a proof that the baby as is not ready to have Bismillah, and therefore you can't heat up the hot water. Imagine somebody El Pesach hasn't done Bismillah. He hasn't done Bismillah. And now, can you bring the Korban Pesach you haven't done Bismillah? Can you bring Korban Pesach without Milah? No, an oral can't be Korban Pesach. Would you give him koros or not? The Beis says yes. Now, why is he chayav koros? According to your logic, as he is now, he's an oral. An oral can't bring Korban Pesach. He's not in the parsha. You see that there is a chiyuv. That means even though a person is an oral, and you could say to yourself, if it's an oral, it's not in the parsha, bismillah, let it be possible. No, we say it's chayav. Rabbi Kosova Baleza in Shiur Timizukna Tomei Sheretz, top of Samech Testament Beis. B'chol Shidu b'Yochid Idcha b'Tzibu Avdi b'Tumah. B'chol Milsa the Isa b'Tzibu Isa b'Yochid. B'chol Milsa the Leis b'Tzibu Leis b'Yochid. I'll explain. I said a little bit like this. There's a fundamental difference between being Tomei and being an Oral. What's the difference? If the majority of Klal Yisrael are Avelim, that's the majority of Klal Yisrael haven't done Bismillah. Can they do Korban Pesach? No. Does anybody have a proof to that? That the majority of the Klal Yisrael haven't done Bismillah, we don't bring Korban Pesach?
So before about being groups, they can't be part of the group.
You're right, it would be a proof, it's not a complete proof, because that would only tell you for all of Klal Yisrael, majority. Yeshua, when he crossed the Yarden, what did he first do? He did Bismillah to the whole of Klal Yisrael, then he brought the Korban Pesach. So you see that Rov of Klal Yisrael being available.
Did the year before?
Because they didn't bring the Korban Pesach in the Midbar, only now it's so. In the Midbar, they didn't do Bismillah because there was a problem of traveling all the time. And the winds, etc. The point is that we do, but if Rov of Klal Yisrael or Tomei do bring Korban Pesach, yes. Yeah. Therefore, says the Gemara, there's a difference between the Oral and the Tomei. A Tomei person can say, I'm fine. My proof being, I'm part of Klal Yisrael. If Klal Yisrael would be Tomei, they wouldn't do anything about it, so why should I have to do anything about it? But in Oral, we say to him, what do you mean you've got nothing to do about it? You could do Bismillah and then be Chayav Korban Pesach. The fact that you haven't bothered to do Bismillah makes a person Chayav Korban. So folks, it comes out in Africa like this. If a person El Pesach is an Oral, and he could do Bismillah, and he doesn't do Bismillah, and he doesn't become Pesach because he's an Oral, it's Chayav Korban. Why didn't you do Bismillah? If a person's Tomei, and he doesn't become Pesach, he's not Chayav Korban. Why? Because he can say, I'm part of Klal Yisrael, and Klal Yisrael don't need to. Let's go inside. Avelus, top fourth line. Avelus, the Kilet Sabah, Avelim Ninu. If every do be an Oral, Ominanu, Kumumolu, we say to them, go and do Bismillah, Nav Shaykhu, Vavidu Pischa, Yochidam, Ominane, Kumol, Vavit Pischa, Viloy Moil Vavit, Anushkos. Tuma de Kulet Sivu, Tumeninu, Lumadin on Alayu. Elovdu Betuma, Yochidami Potter, Yochid is also Potter. So therefore comes out the difference between the Yochid, who's an Oral, and the Yochid, whether it's Tomei, as to whether it's Chayat to come Pesach. Oh, I wonder about the Shol of Rabbi, Pesach Sheni, the Leisiv, it's Sibu, Vesiv, Yochid. A Tzibur don't bring Pesach Sheni ever, but Yochid does. When they shani awesome, Dava they Tzibur b'Rishon. The Tzibur already brought Korban Pesach. It's not that they don't have to bring Pesach Sheni. It's simply because the Tzibur always bring it to Pesach Rishon. The fact that the Yochid who doesn't bring Pesach Sheni is Chayav Koros is simply because the Tzibur already brought Korban Pesach. So you can't compare it to over here to Erev Pesach or Pesach Rishon, where the Tzibur is Chayav. Meisvik. Yochid in Ishkol says Shor Torah Mishov Derech L'Choika. The Torah says, if you don't bring Korban Pesach, what's the din? What's the din if you don't bring Korban Pesach? On purpose. Chayav Koros. Very good. What happens if a person was Tomei and he didn't bring Korban Pesach? Oh, but he could have made himself Torah and brought Pesach Rishon, but he didn't bother. Couldn't be bothered going to mikveh. All he needed to do was go to mikveh and bring Korban Pesach. He couldn't be bothered. Look, he gets Chayav Koros. That's the price. The extra vov to tell you, everybody gets cots. We think about that we're obviously talking about, according to the man, they're not allowed to do shchita and zrika for somebody who's tummy. Somebody allowed to lay. I knew Torah, it's exactly the same as Torah because he could just have the shchita of Korban Pesach and eat it that night. This person who was tummy could not be in the Korban Pesach. The Gemara proves somebody who's Tomei is Chayav Koros, even though the Tzibur is not. That means, even though the Tzibur, we say to them, you don't need to make yourself Torah, just become Pesach B'Tumah. A Yochid that can make himself Torah and does not is Chayav Koros. And therefore, it's a question on Rabbi who answered earlier that there's a difference between Tumah and Arelus. Therefore, this is so Ablezer holds that eating the Korban Pesach is not absolutely necessary. Therefore, only shechting the Korban Pesach is absolutely necessary. And if a person doesn't get around to eating the Korban Pesach, it's okay. So therefore, says Rabbi Lezer, what are you going to do? You're going to do a Hazor on Pesach. No, that's not going to let you. Why not? Because you don't need to. Just shecht it when you're tummy. Oh, come out and nobody can eat the Korban Pesach because you get to shecht the Korban Pesach for people whose stomach. They can't eat. A person whose tummy is better than somebody who's the Chole Zakin can never eat. Since they can't eat, so therefore if you check the Korban Pesach for such a person, it's no good. But this person, he can eat. The only problem is his tummy. In such a case, it's considered good shechita. Rabbi Akiva makes a rule. What's the rule of Rabbi Akiva? Anybody remember the rule of Rabbi Akiva? You're only allowed to mechal Shabbos for something that you can only do that you couldn't have done before. So, for example, shechita you couldn't have done before Shabbos, but cutting off the wart you could have done it last week. The Gemara says the same thing, Gabi Bismillah. Whatever on Bismillah can be done on Shabbos, you have to do on Shabbos. Whatever you could have done before Shabbos, for example, what could you have done before Shabbos?
Put the baby in hot water.
Put the baby in hot water, or bringing the knife. That's important. I once attacked one of my children at Bismillah on Shabbos. So the Mul came on Friday to bring the knife. Why didn't he go before Man Saturday? Why didn't he bring the knife on Shabbos? Because that's something you could do before Shabbos. In both cases, both by Korban Pesach and by Bismillah, Rabbi Akiva makes the rule. That what's the rule? That you could only be Mechal Shabbos for something that you could not have done before Shabbos. And in both cases, we pass like Rabbi Akiva. And the question is, why do Akiva need to say the rule both times? I didn't tell us back home.
That's the case where on Friday you sure the baby was not going to be ready yet. There was a chance morning is, then you're allowed to do Shabbos?
No, you can't. Because theoretically you could have brought the knife. There was no reason. Even you're right, you can't bring the knife. You can't bring the knife.
The baby was fine and then on Shabbos.
So what? So then you don't do Bismillah anyway.
No. The one
It was the 8th day.
Yes, so that's if you don't do Bismillah.
What happens if it's fine on Friday, but on Shabbos then it was ready, but you just needed the hot water?
We don't do anything before. Only that which couldn't be done. Again, now in both cases we pass like Rabbi Akiva. Asks the Gemara, why do you need to say both statements? Just tell me one place. Tell me back home Pesach, or tell me back Bismillah. Why do you have to tell me both statements that you can only be Mechal Shabbos? We pass like Rabbi Akiva. You can only be Mechal Shabbos for something that can't be done before Shabbos. If you say about Bismillah, I'll infer Korban Pesach. If I say about Korban Pesach, I'll infer Bismillah. No answers that each one of them's got something special. What's unique about Bismillah and what's unique about Pesach? Since each one's unique, you would not infer one from the other. Why would you infer? You'd say that's by Pesach, that's by Bismillah. You wouldn't say by both. Let's go inside. Rabbi Akiva is the first of the wide lines. But then we got Mila Kagan the Kalam Akiva Kom Loch says Shabbos. Ain't it Shabbos? Mila Shiur says Shabbos Shabbos. But you need both cases. The actual Pesach also mitzvah ledochi Shabbos b'shum. If you say by Pesach that you can't be Mechal Shabbos, let's say to cut off a wart, Pesach not so special, but Bismillah is more special than Korban Pesach. In what way? It says the word bris 13 times regarding the Bismillah. So Bismillah is a covenant. It's a promise between us and Hashem. So you might have thought, like you said, what happens if you forgot and you didn't bring the knife before Shabbos? So you thought there was not going to be a Bismillah, the baby is not well. So now Shabbos suddenly you realize, you think to yourself, for the sake of 13 different Brissos, you'd be allowed to Mechal Shabbos even for something you could have done before. Aber Mila, the Nichas Oleh, Shlosh Brissos, Emen Nitcho. Yes, we know Mila. Hosmet Bachshim Mitzvah Durch Shabbos, like a cause. A Pesach take a cause, with the Chalit Tzvicham. But Pesach there's cause. Even though Rashi asks the question, but Bismillah there's also cause. But the cause for Bismillah is only if a person delays it till after the age of 13. If a baby doesn't have Bismillah on the 8th day, has it on the 10th day or the 100th day, there's no cause. There's only cause if you don't do it all the way to the age of 13 and plus. Therefore, says the Gemara, by Korban Pesach you might have thought it is Derech Shabbos. Again, by each one you might have thought it's Derech Shabbos. By Mila, because it's cause, because even if you just miss it by one day, there's cause. By Korban Pesach because of cause, by Mila because it's 13 Bissos. So therefore, you need to tell you in both cases that you're nevertheless, even though they're so important, they're not Derech Shabbos, only the actual mitzvah, the preparations for the mitzvah that you could have done the day before are not Derech Shabbos. Oh, we got to the Mishnah. Samach Tesla and Beis. I appreciate it much. Okay, shkoyach. Have a very, very good Shabbos. Man should do it, Taka.